means least. Here, here, and thank you for staying. There are a few empty chairs, that always helps. I'm very pleased to be here with good news tonight. It's not look east, this is good news. However, I'm also very, very, very proud to be here as a patron of Nelson's Journey. Now, Nelson's Journey is unique. It is the only child bereavement charity that offers residential weekends in Norfolk. We care very deeply about that. It was established 14 years ago, 1997. To date, has supported more than 1,000 of Norfolk's bereaved children, and we aim to support in excess of 200 children every year. Now, Debbie Wintringham is the Child Bereavement Services Manager, very grand title, but we're here to talk about assessment, and that's the very first thing we do in Nelson's Journey. Or I don't do it, I'm just a patron. Trained people like Debbie do it. So, Debbie, tell us about your role and what it actually involves.
If my friends ask me over a glass of wine, what do you do for a living? I say, I go around Norfolk and I make people cry, which is pretty much what I do. Initially we take referrals from all professionals and family members. We have an open referral system. We then follow that with a visit to the family that have been referred, a phone call and a visit to the family. We meet with the family as a whole, we listen to their story. We then try and meet with the children individually. On occasions, it's quite necessary to speak to the parents first, particularly if it's a suicide or a murder or something's happened where we need to know what the parents are telling the children. So that is the assessment part of it, and from that we work out what the children's needs are.
This is where I get to ask the questions, which I feel happy doing. No death is easy, certainly not for a child. As I say, you deal with a lot of traumatic deaths, a lot of unusual deaths, but it could just be a natural cause of a much-loved granny or grandpa, couldn't it?
It can, right across the board. We work with children who have been bereaved of a sibling at birth maybe, or through miscarriage, right the way through to, as Carol says, grandparents, natural causes, but also we have lots of complicated deaths like suicides and murders, sudden deaths, accidents, right across the board. So.
The assessment is the first thing we do, and that's crucially important. What does that then lead on to? Why is assessment so important?
The assessment is partly about finding out what the children's needs are and what the family's needs are. It's also about getting the family talking together, because often they haven't spoken to each other about the death or they've skirted over it. And it's very much about protecting the children, and we do appreciate that. And it's about sort of making them feel good about what they've done so far, but helping them move forward. Following that, we have a range of services. We do one-to-one work with some children whose anxiety levels are quite high or they can't access the residential weekends. We also do teen activity days for the older groups at the moment. But the main part of our work, I guess, after the assessment is the camp, which we do 5 a year at the moment, and then 1 for the teenagers.
So the camps are for children aged 6 to 14?
6 to 13, and then we do a 14 to 17 up to their 18th birthday. But for the older group, we also do activity days, so they can meet again afterwards.
What difference does Nelson's Journey make to Norfolk and to children here?
This could take hours, but it is very much about opening up the conversations, helping children to move forward, acknowledging their needs and their wishes around the death and the ceremonies and things afterwards, and remembering the people. But the outcomes are, it reduces offending. It increases, a lot of the children we work with are school refusing, or they're sort of dipping in and out of school, increase school attendance, a reduction in things like bedwetting, eating disorders, other kinds of self-harm.
And as we say, camp is a big part of it. Camp is, about 20 children, isn't it, at Hilltops Centre in Sheringham. There's about 20 adults, it's 1-to-1. You've done lots, haven't you?
I'm on coming up for my 11th, and I still get very excited, which is great.
I've done my first one as a volunteer. I was trained by Nelson's Journey to be a volunteer. Everybody said you'd be very tired. It's very exhausting. It's quite emotionally charged, obviously. And yet it's one of the most rewarding things I've done going to camp, and being with a group of volunteers, all sorts of different people from different walks of life, all there with the aim of helping children get through what you don't even want them to have to get through. Let's face it, none of us wants to think of children having to go through a bereavement, having to suffer the loss of somebody they love. And to see children arriving on a Saturday morning, probably the first time they've been away from their existing mum or dad or carer or whoever, and by the end of the Saturday being firm friends with everybody in their little group, doing lots of different craft activities, lots of therapeutic ways of telling their story, possibly for the first time ever, but having that freedom of being with other children who are the same as them. Because let's face it, you go to school and, you know, everybody's thinking, her dad's dead, she lost her dad, that kind of thing. They're all the same there. They've each got their story to tell, and people are there to listen to them. And we think it makes a huge difference. We're here tonight hoping that you think it makes a great difference as well. And as I say, I'm extremely proud to be a patron and volunteer, and to work with somebody like Debbie as well. It's very humbling. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.